Hi guys, Vino here and welcome to this Time for a Cuppa. That is a damn good cup of coffee, and it's the first cup of coffee I've had in probably a week now. To be honest, I've actually been not feeling too well over the last few days and have taken a few days off work. Got a bit of bad news the other day, but that bad news hopefully is not as bad as maybe first thought. So that's that. But I thought I'd do a TFAC here just to talk about some things, maybe respond to a couple of comments in this video, do some comment responses, an AMA, little AMA kind of thing. I just talk about how things are generally going at the moment and what the plan is sort of going forward with purchases, with the channel, that sort of stuff. My phone is currently vibrating off the hook because somebody is messaging me back and forth. Let's have a look. Respond to that. I'm going to put Do Not Disturb mode on. Sorry, I get too distracted. There was a comment that I received yesterday or earlier today from someone saying that they didn't realise I was into wrestling. I've been to wrestling a vast majority of my life. I fell off of wrestling. So my mum used to be a childminder. And somebody she used to childmind was also very much into wrestling, basically. And when he grew out of being needs to be childminded, I suppose would be the expression, kind of fell out of wrestling then. Over the years, I've jumped back into wrestling at various points in the WWE's or the WWF's history, however you want to pronounce that or phrase that, so to speak. But I think I really bounced off of WWE during the PG era, as they call it. I know as time has gone on, they are starting to sort of gear towards making it a bit more mature, blood is back in, that sort of stuff. And I know AEW is fully into their R era, which is basically WWE's Attitude era. One thing I think has caused my recent jumping back in are 3 or 4 different things. The first thing that caused it is one of the PlayStation Plus games this month was WWE 2K24. Well, I say 2K14, 2K24, which I think is the latest one that's out. They're still releasing DLC for it, and I'm strongly considering buying the season pass for that at some point and getting all the wrestlers and all that kind of stuff. And that was the first sort of indication, and I played that profusely. The second sort of thing that made me get back into wrestling was that Bad Blood, the pay-per-view, was last weekend. I'd resubscribed to the PlayStation Network. I haven't seen Bad Blood just yet because other things have popped up in the meantime, as they want to do. That's not the expression. As they typically do, is probably a better expression on that one. Okay. Yeah, on that one. But I will get around to it. And the third thing I think caused me to excuse me. The third thing that caused me to get back into wrestling is these sets here. I've wanted WrestleMania Anthology set, as I said in the video when I did the update, for many years, and I've been gypped a few times over the years. I gave one story where I was gypped on that. I've actually been gypped a few times by a few different people. One was from eBay, one was from Facebook Marketplace. I actually reported the eBay seller because I won the auction, but they then cancelled the order afterwards because it didn't go for enough money. And I think I actually got their account banned because it's actually against eBay's policies to cancel an order because you didn't get enough money. You should set a minimum value that you're willing to let it go for and let the bid start from there. The reason why people don't do that is because you've got to pay. A friend told me at the time, he told me you got to pay a £10 fee, basically. So when the item finally sells, you've got to pay a £10 fee in order to put it at a certain amount. As you start the bid at 99p, For instance, you don't pay that £10 fee, or whatever the fee now is. It's probably gone up, although they have recently removed selling fees. But back then, you had to pay £10 to set the bid at a starting amount, basically. So a lot of people didn't do that because they weren't willing to pay the £10. I think if it's for an item, it might be 10%, either £10 or 10%, whichever is applicable to the item. But anyway, there was a fee basically for setting a minimum amount, so a lot of people didn't do it, basically. So when that person cancelled it because it didn't get as high as they wanted to get to, that's straight up against eBay's policies, and I do believe they got their account either suspended or straight up taken down, whatever ended up happening with that one. So yeah, those sort of things, all those different things combined, has got me back into wrestling. I've been watching a lot of older matches on there. I watched, was it 1999 Bad Blood, Undertaker versus, was it Triple H in a Hell in a Cell match? I can't remember off the top of my head, but watched that match. Yeah, watched quite a few matches. I do intend on watching at some point all of Undertaker's matches, because he was my favourite wrestler for quite some time. Watching from when I've watched his first match and I've watched his second match, and I plan on continuing to watch his matches as time goes on. And of course, with that would go into The Streak, which is one of the main reasons why I wanted to buy this WrestleMania anthology set, is because The Streak was a massive part of the WWE for a long time. If you don't know what The Streak is, basically The Undertaker went, what, 22-1 in the end was his streak. He did lose one match in the end. Vince McMahon basically told him to lose a match, and he was able to choose who he wanted. I think he chose Brock Lesnar. I do believe he was also able to choose the last match that he ever had, which he fought against Roman Reigns, and of course then hung up the boots and the gloves and what have you for good, so to speak. And I'm very glad about that, because he was not looking good towards the end of his career, to be honest with you. The other reason I have wanted to jump back onto WWE right now is we are now outside of the Vince McMahon era, as has been shown by the Netflix documentary, which I have watched some of, not all of just yet. I'm making my way through it. We know he was a tyrant. Let's just be honest. He was not a nice human being. He only thought of money, only thought of himself. The fact that he got wrestlers to wrestle while seriously injured is just beyond me. The biggest example was Stone Cold Steve Austin. Was made to still continue to wrestle after having a broken neck. So he suffered a botched tombstone pile driver from, I think it was from Samoa Joe. I don't remember completely off the top of my head, but it was a botched pile driver by another wrestler. He landed on the back of his neck, I do believe, and actually broke his neck. If you watch the match very carefully, you can see his entire neck goes red, and he's in a lot of pain. You can see he's in a lot of pain. He was basically told to continue wrestling, and at one point the other wrestler does a move on Stone Cold, but the move looks like Stone Cold did it to the other person, and when both wrestlers were on the floor, the referee quickly put Stone Cold's arm over the other person just to end the match as quickly as possible. Vince McMahon was actually commentating on that match and was not happy with how the referee handled that match, because obviously we all know that it's scripted and the result is pre-decided, so to speak. So I don't know if Stone Cold was meant to end the match, but that's not the first time that a referee has ended a match in that way, because one of the contestants, one of the wrestlers, is injured, heavily injured in the match, and that's a referee's job at the end of the day, is the safety of the people in the match. And obviously you see the wrestlers communicating, the referee communicating with the wrestlers quite often, but if you didn't know, most referees back then wore an earpiece that was a direct link to Vince McMahon, and he would instruct them explicitly on what to do and what not to do. And I do believe there was a separate microphone that Vince McMahon had the commentary table that he used to talk to the referee, and was not impressed. If you listen closely, at the end of the match, Vince McMahon's commentary is basically non-existent because he's shouting down the mic to the referee. I think the referee takes the earpiece out at one point. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Vince McMahon. Obviously, if you don't know, he's been potentially going to be charged with a whole load of charges, from embezzlement to blackmailing to sex trafficking, you name it. He's basically going to be, he potentially is going to be slapped with a load of these charges. I don't know if there's any legal proceedings against him just yet, but I know that he's been accused of a lot of stuff, basically, and I know there's some connections between him and Paige, the wrestler, when it comes to some of his more nefarious tactics over the years. The guy was a tyrant. We all knew he was a tyrant. And it does seem to me as if Triple H is moving the company in a much more positive direction, from what we can tell. Obviously, he comes out on stage after each pay-per-view and gives the figures. He seems to be a lot more involved, seems to be a lot more articulated and less personally, what's the word, impedant on wrestling, so to speak. So that's probably the other reason. And two more reasons: they've just launched on the CW. They're now broadcasting on the CW. And also, as of January next year, Raw is moving to Netflix. Correction, by the way, I said the other day in a video that Raw has reduced down to 2 hours and will, because of Netflix. No, it's reducing down to 2 hours now. When it moves to Netflix, it's going back to 3 hours. So that's the correction that I wanted to make there. But Raw is coming to Netflix as of January 2025, so you'll be able to watch Raw that way. NXT will be in CW. I'm not sure where SmackDown is at the moment, but they're sort of franchising off and sort of syndicating off parts of WWE, which I think is for the better, and plus some of the Attitude Era elements, R-rated elements are coming back into wrestling now. So yeah, bit of a tangent there when it came to wrestling. But if you can't tell, I'm actually quite passionate about wrestling and have been for many years. So you can sort of see that depicted in some of the things I bought recently. I'm actually considering making a dedicated wrestling channel talking about some of the elements of wrestling, and I'm actually thinking of doing some more research myself into wrestling, such as the kayfabe elements of it, how the wrestlers actually, do a match between the two of them, how they do their spots, just sort of understanding what goes into a match, because I find that all very fascinating. I know the spots of the match are pre-designed. They're thought of before the match, but the actual match itself is up to the two wrestlers to come up with what they're going to do in the match. And obviously the referee also communicates to the wrestlers, and I find all of that stuff just fascinating. To be honest, yes, there's a lot of people who just go, oh, it's fake, it's scripted, whatever it may be. It's not as fake as you may think it is. They still put their bodies on the line. They still get heavily injured. And to me, it's just fascinating, a lot of it, to be honest with you. I've actually kind of forgotten what else I was going to talk about in this video. So when it comes to video ideas coming forward, probably my opinions on Bad Blood 2024 will probably be coming to this channel. Maybe I'll think about the other dedicated channel. I do start doing more gameplay videos, but I don't want to bog this channel down with gameplay videos, so they'll be on their own channel. I do have a channel called Gareth the Geek, which I'll probably upload the gameplay videos to, and I'll think of a witty name for the wrestling channel. When I think of that idea, there's another DVD update coming. I've got a couple more box sets just received one yesterday, actually. I'm going to collect the other one over the weekend, hopefully for that one. My first impressions of Silent Hill 2 is on its way, the remake, and my review of Halloween Ends, which I still need to watch at this point in time, but my review on that is also on its way. I think that's it for now. I can't think of anything else. I think there's something else I did want to speak about specifically, but I can save that for another TFAC in the future. But until next time, guys, please take care and enjoy the rest of your day. Ta-ra.